And speaking of Kirk Cousins, he finished quarterback 15 last year, 3,603 yards, 26 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. What are your thoughts?
I would not be surprised to see Kirk Cousins' numbers almost identical from 2019 to 2020. I don't see the philosophy, what the Vikings are doing, change all that much. They might take a slight dip down just because of the absence of Stephon Diggs. Justin Jefferson, while he can help supplement some of that, Diggs was a talent. So I do think they'll miss that in some areas. And maybe that's where the tight ends are able to pick up some of that red zone work. Irv Smith Jr.'s, pretty electric down the field, so he might get a couple deep shots to go along with what Justin Jefferson's going to do. But I think somewhere in that 15, 16, 17 range is right. Like, he's quarterback. He's a second quarterback. He's a good second quarterback to have if you're in a super flex league, and you're kind of spacing out. You take a guy early and you take Cousins a little bit later. You can feel confident that you're going to get some production out of him every week. My biggest fear with the Vikings in general, and it has more to do with the Vikings and less to do with Kirk Cousins, is game script. Because the Vikings don't have any problem only throwing the ball 16 times a game, if that's what is working for them. And so that is what scares me, is Kirk Cousins' floor is a little bit lower than some of the other guys in that range, just because of that Kubiak offense. And what they've shown is if they can lean on Dalvin Cook and Madison's having a killer game too, and they can spell the two out, I do think that you'll see them run the ball 40, 45 times a game if the game flow allows for that. And with that, Cousins' numbers will naturally regress.
Yes, I'm with you, Kevin. I think he is, that middle of the pack quarterback. I think, obviously there's only 32 of those jobs available. He is very much a capable quarterback, has led this team to wins, which, again, it's a defensive-minded head coach. Now, with Kubiak being in there, who has head coaching experience and has won a couple rings, that might change the conversation a little bit, but I think I'm with you there. I think he's in that 15, 16, 17 range. I think you're going to get the same production that you saw out of him last year. The Vikings do have that penchant for whatever's going to win them the football game. That's what they're going to do. You're not going to see them get behind a lot because that defense is salty. So you're not going to see those gaudy passing numbers out of him. Probably about the same, which has been like Kirk Cousins, to a T pretty much his entire career, is that vanilla quarterback that's going to be accurate, that's going to make the right decision, isn't necessarily the best fantasy option, but is a stellar, QB2. And if you do go the route that you said, Kevin, if you take a quarterback early and then you're in a super flex league and you've got, a guy, you need to have that second quarterback option in that super flex spot. Kirk Cousins is a very, very viable option there.
Kirk Cousins is a guy that I would target if I went after Carson Wentz. Kirk Cousins is a very durable quarterback. And as we discussed when we covered the Eagles, the biggest question about Wentz is, are you going to play the entire season? Kirk Cousins is a great security blanket for that. And again, you can get them spaced out enough that you're still able to build a team around there, and you have a solid guy that can step in and play if, Carson Wentz does go down. So that's kind of where I'm looking at, is who do I have as the starter and who is a good backup for that, and I think he falls well within that range.
Yeah, to me, he's more of a guy that's middle of the road as you can get. Quarterback 16, I think, is about where I've got him. But he's also a guy that's, while being middle of the road, being, an accurate passer, all of those things very accurate. He's going to be just very consistent with his finish. He's not a quarterback that's going to go out there and necessarily lose you a week when it comes to fantasy and have just an awful game and fall out of it. Even if they run the ball a bunch, he'll probably still finish, quarterback 20 on the week. but he's also not going to be a guy that ever goes out and is quarterback one on the week either and wins you the week. But he's that guy that's going to consistently finish middle of the pack, and a guy that you could, stream if you need to, pick up, put in there as a, if your guy goes down, such as your analogy with Carson Wentz. I thought that was very accurate.